All right, and welcome back, everyone, to Strange Planet Podcast. And before we get into the meat of what the episode is going to be about today, I figured I would give a very brief but great baseball postseason review. As many of you have known, those of you who have been watching, the Yankees just took out the Kansas City Royals and move on to the ALCS. Thank fucking God. And believe it or not, crazy enough, the New York Mets came out of the grave, and now they are moving on forward to the NLCS as well. So it's going to be very interesting. You got the Cleveland against New York Yankees, that is, and then you got the Mets now going against, I believe, the Dodgers won it, or all this was earlier this last week, rather. And who knows? It's been, I think, the year 2000 was the last time we saw a Subway World Series. And depends upon how this plays out. It might happen again. So we're going to see. But the Yankees fucking won, and I was thrilled. Surprised I have a voice right now. The ALCS game, by the way, is this Monday coming up, too, as well. And now that that's out of the way, I guess we're going to move over to the central topic of this episode. And that is going to be basically for all of you undecided voters out there. So we're not here to mock. We're not here to make fun. We're not doing anything like that. If anything, we're here to inform, like we've been doing for the past couple of months. But one thing I will say, I guess, just leading off with this topic, is that the first thing you probably should know, if you don't already, is right now, the situation at hand, we have Donald Trump, the convicted felon, going against Kamala Harris, a prosecutor. So just knowing that alone should be, a green light towards the right direction. You know what I mean? So there's lists. I'm sure you guys are going to fill them in with even more information about this. But before I ramble anymore, who wants to jump in and start saying a little something about to the undecided voters out there that may be unsure of where to go with their vote?
Well, while voting and politics in general is relatively boring to most Americans these days, it's I hate to say it without sounding like, oh, there's a fire or an emergency. It really is a lot at stake. It's more underlying than anything else, but it's coming from a division being forced by a very, very selfish man. Now, obviously, with media and everything, people are blowing it to big proportions, but it's really serious. If this former president actually makes it back into office, he will destroy everything we know about the American government. He will, if we've talked about Project 2025, that is, basically turning the government into, yes, here, Mr. King President, choose and do anything you want with any of the offices we have to regulate anything in this, country. We've had the Chevron rule overruled in the Supreme Court, and that definitely makes it so experts have no say and things that they're supposed to be regulating. It's all about Congress and the House, and everybody says, oh yeah, this is how we're going to do things, even though they have no idea what they're doing. They barely know how to do their own jobs in the Senate and the House, then beyond. But I digress.
Right.
So, well, every year or every election year, it sounds like it's a huge thing that you need to vote for this person. It is really important this time that you vote for Kamala Harris and her VP. Because, if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck and it smells like a duck, it's probably a duck. So if you have a person who's been convicted of, felonious activities, still has more, indictments to get to, and they just keep putting it off more and more. He doesn't want you to hear any of the, evidence of any of this stuff until after the election, so it'll be too late for you people to make up your minds. Please take a second, listen to the things we talk about when we talk about to, go out and investigate for yourself. Because you don't have to take our opinions. This is an opinionated show. I know on that. But go out, study, find, discover what it is that's going on. I mean, you're going to get a lot of BS on the internet and in media too, so you kind of have to filter through it, and it feels like a
job.
A job, yeah. It feels like a job.
Real.
It just feels like a task that is just too much. In your daily lives, no one really wants to have to, do like a book report on, who they want to vote for. I like their name. I'll click, vote for that person. It's just, this is what affects everybody's lives in the post game. And, after it happens and people start making laws and stuff, and then those laws don't seem to work out for everybody. I mean, look what happened with Roe v. Wade. Nobody's happy about that. Only the Christians are for some strange reason.
Evangelicals, right?
Yeah, it's so. I mean, I'm a Christian, and I'm like, no, no, no.
Yeah,
That needs to be a choice
I hear you there.
because I don't know, it's like they care about it until it comes out of the person, and then they don't give a shit. If you don't believe me, you can a lot of evidence of that too. But instead of me sitting here rambling on, I'm going to pass the torch to somebody else and get their opinion.
There you go. Go ahead, Rook.
Well, I just have to say that first of all, I don't know why you're undecided,
I
but
agree,
it
but
could be a combination of factors. It could be because you're not that into politics at all, and I understand that. It's a very number one, when you get into the nitty gritty of the policy, it can be kind of boring. Number two, politicians don't have the best reputation. They often, tell you either lies or things that they know you want to hear, but are not necessarily true. And they make promises and they speak in generalities that don't really tell you how they're going to affect your life. But let me tell you something. Politics absolutely does affect your daily life. And it affects not only our lives here, but people around the world. Who we put into the most powerful position on the planet Earth matters a whole lot. I've worked on the Hill and Congress. I've worked at the White House. I've worked at the Pentagon. I know that there are plenty of serious, intelligent, and frankly patriotic people who work every day to try to make our country better. And they just go up against some just wall of cynicism, people doubting that politicians have their best interests at heart, and some of that is well founded. But there are also a lot of people who work in both the administration and in Congress that care about going to work every day and trying to make a difference in everyday people's lives. Now, when it comes to Trump, um, so if you're undecided, that means that you're not really affected by Trump's personality. Yeah, he's a dick. Yeah, he's a liar. Yeah, but you don't really see a difference between him and maybe any other politician. But let me tell you something. Not only is he a dick and a liar, but he also is a malignant narcissist.
and
Now, I'm no
dangerous.
I'm no psychiatrist, but you can just see it in his behavior. The pathological way that he tells lies about things that are easily disproven. Um, most recently, or one of his most recent lies was that, um, Biden didn't call the governor of a state that was affected by a hurricane. I think it was Georgia. And that was a bold-faced lie because the governor of Georgia said that he called, uh, or the president called him and he wasn't there to pick up the phone, but then he called him right back and they had a conversation. And Biden told the governor of Georgia that he was going to get everything he needed and that they're, working well together.
A
And
Republican governor, by the way, just to point it out.
right,
Right, right.
Brian Kemp. And so, like this lie that Trump told, he was going around on his rally saying that Biden, didn't even call him, refused to talk to him, not helping out with the hurricane. And he's just painting a not even misleading, but a lie. And he's not held to account for his lies by his supporters. Now, if he's willing to lie about, small things like that, what else can he lie about? Well, he can lie about whether he talks to Putin, whether he will partner with Putin, whether he'll concede Ukraine to Putin. And that's another important thing on the international stage. The president is supposed to be a serious person. Trump is not a serious person. He stood up on a podium next to Putin, and he was asked by reporters about the intelligence agencies. 16 of United States intelligence agencies saying, that Russia was, interfering with the United States elections in 2016. Now, these people are not political. They are career, intelligence officers that protect our country every day from things that we don't even hear about. And for all 16 of those agencies to come to the same determination that Putin and Russia were interfering in our elections. You see it on Facebook with Russian troll farms producing memes and getting, writing stories, fake news stories, just to rile people up. They are getting involved in our elections, in our democracy. They're, supposedly a democracy too, but really they rig the elections for Putin. And that's the same type of mentality that Trump has. That's why Putin and Trump are like this. It's because they share the same type of mentality when it comes to governing. And that is very dangerous for American society. That is not how America usually operates. It hasn't in the past. We haven't had a dictatorial president. Our first president, George Washington, sort of laid the foundation for us in terms of saying, a president is not a king.
Right.
And now Trump is running essentially to be a king because he doesn't want to be questioned or opposed by either Congress or the Supreme Court that he already packed with appointees of his,
or anyone.
He wants total control and not to be questioned about the decisions he makes. And I think it's very important for people to understand that this is dangerous because in America we allow, a lot of power to reside in the presidency, and we put our faith in the political system in terms of voting to provide a check against presidential power. Now, Trump abused that power time and time again with Russia, with trying to keep himself in office and going to great lengths to do so, even fomenting an insurrection in which the halls of Congress were stormed by people. Can you imagine? I worked in Congress. When you go in there, you go through metal detectors and there's a lot of security. And for them to just walk in there by force, breaking windows, trashing the place, that is disrespectful to our country. And we should not, I repeat, we should not reward Trump for that behavior, for encouraging that behavior and then standing behind it by saying those people were patriots. No,
Exactly.
not patriots. They are traitors. And that's why a lot of them are going to jail.
And they should stay there too. You know what I mean? Because his first MO was to let them out. Remember, if he gets voted in, he was going to let them all out. Imagine that.
Sure. He's going to pardon them. Sure.
Now, with everything Trump's been doing, that's just the icing on this whole cake. You have to remember, this started slightly slightly into the Obama administration when the Republican Party, who was in control of, I think it was the Senate at the time. I can't remember. Mitch McConnell, he's House or Senate?
Mr. McConnell's a senator. He was the Senate majority leader.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kentucky, right?
I mean, yeah, Kentucky. The point of the House and the Senate is to kind of checks and balances with each other and with the president and everything, and to make laws that benefit everybody. Now, when you get somebody who's the leader of their party and says, "I won't deal with Democrats. Any bill that gets passed by me will die. I'm the Grim Reaper of bills." That's someone who doesn't want to do their job and just prove a point. Now, the reason I say this started in the Obama administration is because at that point, the Republican Party was setting up their chess pieces for God knows who. I don't know if they knew Trump was going to be president or going to try to become president.
Probably
but they were
not.
setting up something. And then they left the door open for all the judges to come in when Trump became president, because you can't put in a judge when there's an election on the way. So Obama was like, all right, fine, I won't do it, and he didn't get a chance to put anybody into the Supreme Court.
Obama nominated him, and then the Senate just didn't do anything.
That's what I'm saying, though. It's just like the Republican Party pretty much stonewalled anything that the Republicans or the Democrats were going to do because he didn't want them to get any advantage whatsoever. And so it turned out that, when Trump became president, oh, hey, look, we have 3 openings in the Supreme Court. Let's just throw our own people in there. And while we're at it, let's just do that all over the freaking country. So they've been putting all these pieces all over the country, whether it's, poll workers or whether it's actual justices in the courts or Supreme Courts of those states and those areas. They've been setting this up to try to get, Trump to get past anything. Oh, if he doesn't get the votes, we'll run it by, we'll do alternate electors, and all these other states have these people in place where we're gonna, just force it. No one can say, boo to it.
Yeah,
and this is
fake
where,
electors, like
literally fake electors. We're talking here.
They're subverting. They're subverting the rules of the country that have been laid down since George Washington and everybody else, signs the Declaration of Independence. They're destroying what country we have left.
Basically.
I mean, it's not a country of one type of people, because that's what this country was kind of designed to be. People to come and be free, and pursue the way of life that felt best to them. Unfortunately, not all the ways of lives are good, and this one person has decided he wants to become king. Well, he should have moved to a different country, because you and us will not let that happen. Yes, everyone say yes. Nod your head with me, please.
Well, it's funny you say that too, because is democracy perfect? Maybe in a perfect world, yes, but the way it is now, no. But
democracy is messy.
It gets very messy, exactly. But the point is, you won't know how.
A dictatorship, or a king, that's easy, because whatever the king says goes, whatever the dictator says goes, and everyone just follows suit. That's easy.
Yeah, that's easy for the king.
Yeah,
democracy is not easy for the people who are running it. It should be easy for the people who are living in it,
or the citizens, even.
Exactly, because that's who the people serve, the citizens. It's not the other way around. I mean, honestly, I think the whole paywall for becoming any kind of politician is ridiculous. You got to have money to go to these venues and parade yourself.
You have to have support. You have to have
support
to raise money.
Yeah,
you have to be able to go out and convince donors to give you money so that you can make advertisements against your opponent, so that you can travel around and have a staff that can advocate on your behalf.
Right.
They're expensive operations campaigns these days.
No, I understand.
And you have to have radio ads, television ads, internet ads.
There's a lot involved.
A lot of that should be set aside. I mean, maybe some you could pay for half, discounted, something. It's just that if anyone wanted to become a politician, it could never happen. You'd have to be like in the group somehow to get on top of it, and then be rich on top of that too.
That certainly helps.
If you were very, very popular, sure, you can get the backing to become like. I'm sure if the Arnold Schwarzenegger wanted to, other than the fact that he's not a natural born American, he could probably become president because he's got a lot of fans. But
He was already
you
a
know,
governor. But
but he can't become president
right, yeah, right. But
because
what
he's
I
not
was
a
also
natural.
going to say is a lot of people I don't think realize that we've been running this democracy for as long as most of us have been alive. Now, if you want to know what it's like without a democracy, look at North Korea, look at Russia. Like Rook was saying, even though they're supposedly a democracy, we all know damn well they're not. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I mean,
So
look at Iran. Iran is
Iran,
technically a democracy, but that's what happens when democracy goes bad.
Hmm.
Like
right,
Iran holds elections where they elect their president. Um, what they do is they say, if you're not, an Iranian revolutionary, if you don't support the Ayatollahs, then you can't run.
basically.
They choose the candidates that
That's
the public
ridiculous.
can select from.
I mean, but that's their government, the way they want to live. That's not how we run
Right,
things
but
here.
that's a democracy.
Yeah,
Uh,
quote
but
unquote.
that's how democracy can be manipulated if a faction that is really dictatorial, autocratic, takes control and then uses that power to restrict voting to just themselves.
Right.
That's the same thing that Putin did.
To ensure his win.
Putin kills his political opponents. He doesn't even just like shut them out. He will kill them.
Yeah, or they fall out a window
Um,
or get poisoned.
no, they get poisoned. They get shot right outside,
Right?
government buildings. Like it's obvious what happens
And
there.
if you even talk bad about the
And
government, couldn't they come after you too? If you even just
if
say like there's no freedom of
yeah,
speech.
no, if you don't say anything against the Russian government, or you might not be seen from again.
Yeah,
Um,
that'll be it.
it's a democracy gone wrong, and it still has the appearance on the outside of a democracy. But let
An
me tell you,
interior?
that is something way different than what we have here.
Exactly.
And we have to preserve what we have here. And if we elect Donald Trump, it's going to go away. It's going to
Yeah.
go away quicker than you could imagine.
It's all on the line here too. Now I know every 4 years, like Mark was saying at the beginning of this episode, that they always say that this is the most important election or whatnot. But in reality, this one really is one of the
Yeah,
most important ever because
because it could be our
democracy as we know it
last.
is on the line. Because like Mark just said, this could be our last one.
Well,
You know
look,
what I mean?
Trump is old. Like he's not going to live, forever. Like Kim Jong Un did, or um, what's his name, Fidel Castro. He's not going
Mhm.
to last like
20, 30
decades.
years. Like,
So that's not what I'm worried about. What I'm worried about is someone like JD Vance taking over, who's not stupid like Trump. JD Vance is a Yale educated attorney, and he knows what the fuck he's doing. He knows that Donald Trump's a liar, but yet he supports him. He called Trump, like JD Vance, Trump's vice presidential candidate, uh, called Trump America's Hitler.
yeah,
Okay.
it's true.
He called him America's Hitler. Now he says, "Oh, I take it back. I learned more about him." Blah blah. No, he was right the first time.
He was
Yeah,
100% right the first
And,
time.
and it's not like America's Hitler in the sense that he wants to kill a certain group of people. No, it's America's Hitler in the sense that he wants to have total control over the government and have no one
Stop
question
him.
his party.
Well, he did want to ban Muslims entirely, so that's kind of
Well,
in
yeah, I
that
mean,
ballpark,
he's anti-immigrant. He fans the flames of anti-immigrant sentiment. Now, there are some, legitimate concerns about immigration, sure, but to turn that into like hatred and to foment fear of immigrants, I think that is very Hitler-esque. When you're looking at other people to blame for your problems, that is very Hitler-esque.
Yeah,
Now, yeah, so like, people, he tries to blame like housing prices on illegal immigrants, and there's
right.
like no rational like connection between the two.
at all. Yeah.
Um, like it's just like, but when you have people who are in a very sort of, I guess, desperate situation, or they're trying to make ends meet and they're stressed and worried and they're seeing, you know, or they're hearing about, not even seeing, they're hearing about other people, getting benefits and things like that. That makes them very angry.
Right.
And, they'll take out their frustrations on those other people. And what I'm here to say is that that's not what, Democrats want to do. Democrats want all people to succeed. Okay. Like they want everyone to have a fair shot, not
Right.
just the rich, not just one class, not just one race, not just one gender. They want everyone to have an opportunity to succeed. And some people may feel like, oh, well, Donald Trump, he's helping one type of person to succeed, and that happens to be me. But let me tell you, if you give into that sort of mentality, it's going to cause a very disruptive, like people who are oppressed by an oppressor, that doesn't go over well over the long run. You have to give everyone opportunity. Okay.
Right. Right.
And there's enough resources in this country. We produce enough as a people to make everyone's life comfortable. We do. Now, the problem is that most of that wealth is concentrated in very few people. Um,
Right.
and
Right.
I'm not, necessarily talking about wealth redistribution. What I'm talking about is that we as a people need to demand more of the fruits of our labor from the very few people that harvest these fruits.
Hmm.
And how we do that, whether it's politically or whether it's labor unions, or whether which frankly have less and less power over time. Um, you know, Republicans have demonized labor unions, but yet they're responsible for things like only an 8-hour workday.
Right.
Uh,
Sufficient pay.
responsible for not like if you go to the beginning of the 20th century, there were fucking 5-year-olds working in factories.
Yeah. Right.
That's what would happen. Literally, that's what happened when we didn't have regulations, government regulations, and that, like, the rich will just exploit, anything that they can just to get ahead of, their competitors.
Competition. Right.
That's
Yeah.
yeah. And you can call that evil or whatever, but that's just the way that capitalism works. Um, it's not necessarily, if your company doesn't do it, another company will. And so you're kind of forced, if you're making decisions as either a CEO or you're on the board of a company, you want to see the decisions that put that company at an advantage so it makes money for the shareholders. And if another company does something that, whether they get rid of the labor force by implementing robotics or AI or something, like that company is going to make more profit because they're not paying workers as much. So it's not coming out of that end. And so you have to, as a company, make those decisions in a capitalist society. Now, what government can do is government can make rules that say, like, well, no, you can't really do that. You can't exploit labor to that degree. And then it makes it a level playing field for all companies because they all have to follow the same rules. Now, government has to enforce those rules. They can't, let some companies get away with it and others not. But, by and large, that's what Democrats want to do. They want to make the system fair for working class people.
Right. Exactly.
And that's essentially why you should vote for Kamala Harris and Democrats.
Right, right. And one other thing I do want to bring up for the undecided voters too, when you see a Trump rally or you watch Kamala Harris speak, one thing you can probably notice if you haven't already is Donald Trump. It's very quick to just point the finger at all the problems. But what don't you ever hear? A solution. Remember when he was brought up about
He has concepts of
of a
ideas.
healthcare plan? Yeah, and a
Right.
concept 8 years later, right?
Yeah,
And when you
no.
listen to Kamala
Yeah,
Harris,
in
there's
2015, 2016, when Trump was running and he was asked, repeal and replace, you want to repeal and replace Obamacare. Repeal and replace with what? And Trump's
right.
response was something terrific.
Yep, that's
Well,
right.
here we are 8 years later, and he still doesn't have an answer. He has
He's only got
concepts of a
concepts.
plan,
Exactly.
concepts of plans. That was his response.
But he's always
Like
so quick.
he is
Like,
not a serious person. He
no,
doesn't he doesn't know what he wants to do. He just knows he wants power, not only to, enrich his ego, but also to keep his ass out of jail.
right. But then on the other hand, now you look at Kamala, she's got plans up to wazoo with what she wants to do. You know what I mean? So you have Kamala Harris on her side with actual structure, plans, and ideas and concepts that are already like if she's elected, she could already hit the ground running and get this stuff moving. And then the other side, you just have pointing
Right,
fingers,
but
pointing the grins for all
feel
the problems, and then you have
I feel like an undecided voter might ask the question that Trump asked. Like Kamala Harris is in office right now. She's the vice president. Why haven't, those things been done? And part of the answer to that is, well, who runs the House? The Republicans. And you can't pass anything through the House if the Republicans are there. And then the Supreme Court, like the student loan thing that the administration tried to get to forgive student loans. Well, if the Supreme Court says you can't do it, then it falls to Congress to get it done.
Right, exactly. See the problem here? Yeah, that's exactly, and that's the thing you don't hear as much as you should, because a lot more, even in just this past term, could have got done if it wasn't for Republicans. Really, I mean, you could say, well, it's easy to blame, but we just explained to you how that became and why it is. You know what I mean? So this is really the situation here. If you want more basic restrictions and if you want less, then I guess a vote for Trump is what you want, but that's also basically a vote to get rid of democracy as well. Whereas Kamala wants to keep the party going, wants to turn the page, like she says, and move forward with a new vision and a new light and a new direction. You're not going to get that with Trump. You're going to get another 4 years of what he already did, but now he has more power, so more destruction will likely get done. And the way things go in these situations, once something like that is done, it rarely ever reverts back. So, you know what I mean? Depends upon what kind of an America you really want to live in at this point. You know what I mean? Do you want no health care or limited health care for women? Then I guess that's the route to go, but I wouldn't recommend it. That is not the way it should be. Everyone should be able to make their own health decisions between them and their doctor without government or anyone else getting involved. And that's the way it always has been until, recent events, I guess. So these are all factors that you got to keep in mind. And Trump, like Brooke and everyone, even me, we've all been saying this whole time, he's full of shit every time he talks. So you can't take his word for nothing. Or he'll lie to do whatever it takes to win the election or to get what he wants. And that's basically where we're at right now.
Final note. I know that, with everything that you're hearing and seeing, it's exhausting. And probably you're undecided because you really don't want to be bothered with it. It'll sort itself out. It always does. It might not this time. So I beg you, don't be like the selfish He-Man child who wants to rule the world. Be like a fellow American. Go out, register, vote blue. And after that, we can all sort out any of the problems that we have. It's just that let's keep the democracy ball rolling and not, elect a future king who's going to pass it down to his son. Sorry, J.D. Vance, you're not going to be president anytime ever.
Hopefully.
So, no, if he becomes president, he's going to become like a makeshift king. They're going to change all these laws and pass all these stupid laws. or he can pass it down to his son instead of people getting elected because he's going to be president for the next 2 years, 4 years, 10 years.
Right.
Give me another 4.
I
Give me
don't
another
even-
4. Wait,
I don't even
another
think
4,
they have
please.
to
Hey.
do that. I don't even think they have to do that because if Donald Trump Jr. or Eric Trump runs, he has the Trump name. The Trump fanatics will flock to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what populism does.
Whatever the situation is, we're coming down to the wire, everybody, and just please do us a favor, do yourselves a favor. Just vote blue, please.
It's the safest route.
Safest
It really
route.
is at this point. It really is. It will preserve the democracy that we have. We won't have to worry about a monarchy or any kind of crazy shit. You know what I mean? And the price of stuff, it will come down in due time. I believe it will. I think it already has, to be honest. But I don't see that happening the other way whatsoever. And I guess as a final statement, I, as well as I'm sure everybody in here, would agree that we don't need 4 more years of arrogance, lies, and division. Let's go to the next chapter, one where we focus more on working together than, driving us against one another. That's what you will get if you vote for Kamala, I feel and see. And that being said, hopefully our words have helped you decide if you're an undecided voter. If not, we have plenty of videos. You can check our past couple of months for that matter, and there's plenty of information there, and there's very specific points we reach on a bunch of them. So feel free to click those and listen to those for some more information. But that's all we got for this week, everyone. Strange Planet Podcast will have new episodes every Friday on YouTube. And thanks for watching. Peace.
Peace.